You pick your nose. Your fingernail scratches the delicate skin inside. Now, this lining is full of tiny blood vessels, which can easily get damaged. If you keep picking, you can make small cuts that don't heal properly. And over time, these cuts can weaken the wall between your nostrils. If the damage gets bad enough, it can create a hole. And this hole can make it hard to breathe and can cause nosebleeds, sometimes requiring a surgery. If you lose a piece of your fingertip and you're a small child, a scab will begin to form over the injury. Underneath, special cells begin to gather at the wound site, and in some rare instances, these cells replicate to rebuild the bone, skin, and nail, regenerating the lost fingertip. It may be slightly different in shape or size, but it should still be fully functional. The tiny skeleton of a baby was discovered between the corpse's legs, as if she had given birth in the coffin. Now, for centuries, people thought it was a sign of witchcraft, that the woman had returned from the dead to deliver the baby. But this can actually happen when gases build up inside the pregnant body as it starts to rot. It can create enough pressure to push the baby out of the womb and is known as a coffin birth. If your brakes suddenly stop working, grab the steering wheel with one hand and carefully start to use your emergency brake with the other. Now, make sure not to pull it too hard, or it could make the car skid out of control. If that doesn't work, try scraping the car against a guardrail to create friction and slow it down. And if you're for sure headed for a crash, try to hit something soft like bushes to lessen the impact. She gagged as she swallowed the fork, the edges tearing at her throat on the way down. The woman had a condition causing an uncontrollable urge to eat things that aren't food. After an x-ray, doctors rushed her into surgery to remove the utensils one by one. They had to be careful. A single wrong move and the metal could rupture her stomach. After hours of surgery, the doctors successfully took out all 78 pieces of cutlery. If you cut off a dead person's finger, you might think you could use it to unlock their phone, but the sensor actually checks for the body's natural electricity, and this stops when a person dies, making the finger useless. Now, if you tried to use the corpse's face to unlock it, the sensor would look for slight movements to make sure it's a real living person, but it would quickly notice that they're dead and you'd still be locked out. When a dentist gives you a shot, the needle can sometimes bend and snap during the injection. If this happens, the broken piece might stay lodged in the soft tissues of your mouth. Over time, the tissue around it might swell or become infected if the piece isn't retrieved. To remove it, dentists can use imaging tools and a small surgical procedure to carefully extract the needle. They were placed on the soles of the agent's boots, secured with a sturdy strap. The overshoes disguised their footprints, making it appear as if they were someone else. Some soles mimicked the prints of civilians, or even animals like bears. When they were worn backwards, it reversed the direction of their steps. This made it impossible for enemies to identify their footprints and follow their trail. The logs in the center of the tower began to groan, leaning sharply under the enormous weight. Then, the wires holding the structure together snapped, sending the entire tower crashing down. Students were hard at work building it for their school's cherished celebration when disaster struck. Trapped beneath 5,000 logs, many were unable to escape. Rescuers raced to save them, but tragically, 12 students lost their lives. The child was put in a wicker basket and hoisted up to the ceiling as punishment, and they had to spend the rest of the lesson hanging above the classroom. Now, this was meant to humiliate them and to scare the other children into behaving. Sometimes the teacher would even push it, making it sway back and forth as extra punishment. But the basket was small, and if it moved too much, the child could easily fall out. He picked up the penguin, which was covered in sticky black oil, and took it home to clean it. Over the next few days, he fed it fish and nursed it back to health. But when he went to set it free, the penguin followed him home. Even after it finally left, it returned a few months later. And for the next 8 years, it swam 5,000 miles every summer just to visit his human friend. It stings the cockroach's brain, shutting down its ability to escape. The helpless cockroach follows the wasp like a mindless zombie, following it to its burrow where it lays an egg on its body. Over time, the egg hatches into larva, which feeds on the cockroach from the inside out. It's still alive, but completely powerless as the larva grows. Eventually, it fully develops, bursts out of the cockroach, and flies away, starting the cycle again. A needle is passed through the small structure at the back of your throat, creating a hole. Then a piece of jewelry is secured inside the hole to keep it open. But your uvula is always wet, and your mouth is full of germs, which makes it much easier for the piercing to get infected. It can become inflamed, causing it to swell, making it difficult to swallow. If the swelling worsens, it can obstruct your airway, and you might have to get your uvula removed. Trying to see the bird's nest, he touched a live electrical wire. He was instantly thrown to the ground, and his face was severely burned. Even after he healed, his eyes were closed over, his nose was missing, and there were 2 bulges of skin where his mouth should have been. Too afraid to show himself in public, he stayed inside during the day. But as he grew older, he began to walk the highways at night. Neighbors who came across the faceless man were spooked, giving him the name Charlie No Face.